Hello, this is week 18 and we're doing science. So in your kit, you should have a science sheet from Eden Hope Academy for each of your students. And the first thing you'll do is have your students fill this part in. Just color it in. Doesn't have to be the same colors for each student. The nucleus can be blue, green, purple. Whatever they do is absolutely fine. And you're just going to read the terms below to your students. You don't have to read the full explanation of the terms, just the names of them is fine. Make sure you say what the nucleus does, that that's the brain of the cell, and that there are billions of these in everyone's body right this second. These are animal cells. Now we go over cells and we memorize the parts of them in Cycle 2 of Eden Hope Academy. But the reason that we're doing this today is so that we can discuss Charles Darwin. And Charles Darwin wrote the book on the origins of species, and he said that we evolved, called evolution, the theory of evolution, and that we evolved from a very primate source, like a primordial goo. And he, one of the most famous depictions of this is the monkey to the human look. And we've all seen this a million times over. But from his perspective, from his way of thinking, people and everything in the universe, everything on Earth was started, and then it just changed little bitty bits over time. And this has been proven time and time again to be inaccurate. But scientists cling to it because they don't want to admit that the God of the universe created us just like he said he had in the Bible. And so what Charles Darwin said, I think, was important. It says, if it can be demonstrated that any complex organ existed which could not possibly have formed by numerous, excessive, slight modification, my theory would absolutely break down. So that's why we're looking at the cell. Because the nucleus could not have formed without all of the parts around it, without the vacuoles to take away the waste, without the endoplasmic reticulum to make the energy for it, without each of these parts, it could not exist. And so if this cell, what Charles Darwin said, was more complex than just some goo or the cell membrane and the cytoplasm parts, then his theories were not correct. And so what I always think about when I look at this picture is you've got the monkey and we've got the human, and I've seen monkeys and you've seen humans, and I'm sure you've seen monkeys too. But if his theory is correct, where are the in-betweens? Because if we still have the monkey, then we would definitely still have the in-betweens too, and those don't exist. Also, the fossil records don't exist to prove that his theory is correct. Now, it is correct, however, we have proof with microevolution, and that would be like with viruses. Viruses do evolve and change over time, so that distinction is very important. Now, also, when we're talking about animal cells and how complex they are, we always need to talk about DNA. And the complexity of DNA is billions and billions and billions of proteins that are in different orders, A, C, G, T, and when you write out this code, it's a code for each of us, and it is so complex. It's so complex that when my husband, who's a bioinformatician, was working at Celera Genomics under Craig Venter, when they decoded the first human genome, they had tons of the code, the SNPs, single nucleotide polymorphisms, that they called junk DNA. And they just put it to the side and they said, this is just junk DNA. And they went ahead and they decoded the rest of it. Well, over the last 20 years, scientists have found so much information in that junk DNA where they now realize that it wasn't junk at all. It was very important pieces of our DNA. So when you're working with your students, they will have a paper plate, and we have all the instructions on the website, but the paper plate represents a cell membrane, so it goes around the cell, all the way around, and it's semi-permeable, meaning some things can get in, but most things cannot get in or out. And then they have a pom-pom, which is the nucleus. And they have a pipe planar, which they'll fold back and forth to make the endoplasmic reticulum, that guy. And then they have the bow ties, which are the Golgi complex. So they can put one or two of these on. And these guys, I don't know what this pasta is, but these are our centrals, because they kind of look like that. They're kind of where you can see through them. And then I don't know what this pasta is either. Someone who knows pasta is going to have to tell me what these are. But this guy is a mitochondrion. And they also have string where they can make other pieces if they want to, if they have time. They can color in these. But what you're really trying to get them to recognize is how complex the animal cell is. And as you're speaking with them and they're doing the science project, talk about things that do have little changes over time that make something different. Like if you're building a house, if there's someone whose dad is a carpenter there, think about the processes that you need to build a house. You can do the foundation first, and then you can build the walls, and you can build each piece over time, just a little bit. But it's not changing over time. The house is being constructed with each piece separately. It's not just forming something like the foundation isn't forming like a crack. It isn't forming a crack and then a tree comes up from it or something like that, and therefore it's a pretty landscapey, cementy thing. It's not that. In order to build something that has purpose and value, you have to put it together at one time, or you have to put it together with forethought and with a plan, just like God's plan. Decay is something that happens a little bit at a time, but not the buildup of the item. So think about other examples. I'm not sure mine were the best examples on the planet, but I think you have the idea that I'm trying to reach here, and I can't wait to see pictures and see what your students do. Thanks so much for teaching this class at Eden Hope Academy. What you are doing is so valuable for these children. You're giving them a place to learn and to grow and to think that they will remember forever. So thank you so much.